Tonight, we have chilling new details about a quadruple murder in a Markham home.
Never heard him once even single shouting and so always smiling, always helpful.
The whole peaceful nature of this area has gone.
A 23-year-old man arrested at the scene appears to have sent online messages about the killings shortly after they occurred. Plus,
I didn't smoke before, but like the Juul, it's kind of like a vape, so it's different.
a popular e-cigarette company opens its first retail store on Queen West amid mounting concern about the rise of teen vaping. And the city is telling this family to remove their fake grass or pay up after giving them an award for having a nice lawn. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. A Markham man has been charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder after 4 people were found dead in a home yesterday. Now, police have not identified the victims, but neighbors say Menhas Zaman lived in the home with his mother, father, sister, and grandmother. Police took him into custody yesterday after they were called to his home on Castlemore Avenue in Markham. Police found 4 bodies inside. Now, investigators are not confirming potential evidence that was sent to CBC News, an online confession and photos of the crime that a man apparently sent to members of an online video game community. The photos are extremely graphic. They show the victims after they were killed, as well as 2 weapons. Now, we are not going to show you those photos. Our Angelina King has more, though, and a warning: this story does contain graphic content.
Late Saturday night, chilling messages from a man named Menhas to members of an online gaming community. He said he had been lying to his family for years. In messages obtained by CBC News, the man says he had dropped out of university. He told his parents he was at class, but instead was hanging out at the mall and the gym. He wrote, "I did this because I don't want my parents to feel the shame of having a son like me." He said he told his family his graduation was on Sunday and killed them the night before. "I couldn't have delayed it any longer," he wrote. "I wanted them to die so that they didn't suffer knowing how much of a pathetic subhuman I was. It's all very selfish." CBC News has not independently verified that the person sending these messages is 23-year-old Menhas Zaman, now charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder. But a woman who rented a basement apartment in the home for 5 years says this photo from his gaming profile is a match. Amira Riaz says Zaman was quiet and always helpful around the house.
I never heard him once even single shouting and so always smiling, always helpful. Her mother is bringing grocery, he's taking out the grocery from car.
She says Zaman lived with his parents, sister, and grandmother. Police were called to their home in Markham yesterday afternoon. They had been told several people were possibly hurt inside. When they got there, Zaman was at the front door. They arrested him. Inside of the house, police found 4 bodies, 3 women and 1 man.
This scene is going to be held for quite some time, as there's a lot of work for our forensic identification to be doing inside the residence here.
Zaman briefly appeared in court today wearing glasses, a black t-shirt, and he gave his name in a soft voice. He's scheduled back in court on Friday. Neighbors here say they're shocked that police are in their otherwise peaceful community, especially for something like a quadruple murder. Officers say they understand the concern and want them to know that they are not searching for any other suspects, so there is no risk to public safety. Angelina King, CBC News, Markham.
And 3 people were stabbed near King and Dufferin early this morning after what police are calling a road rage incident. Investigators say 2 vehicles were driving westbound on King when their occupants got into some sort of altercation. 2 men got out of one of the cars and 3 men out of the other. They got into a fight, and that's when the first 2 men stabbed the occupants of the other car. The suspects got back into their silver Honda Civic and took off. 1 victim was taken to hospital with life-threatening injuries. After months of protests and outrage, the Ontario government is pivoting away from its controversial autism funding model it introduced this past spring. It's moving towards what it calls a more needs-based program. Alice Chasson has the details.
The parents.
Today wasn't just an announcement. It was a mea culpa.
Right. We are certainly sorry for the anxiety that this has caused parents across Ontario. We are committed, though, as a group, to making sure that we get this program right.
The Minister of Children, Community and Social Services says they're committed to cleaning up the mess made of the autism portfolio.
It's clear to me that we didn't get the redesign right the first time.
Under that redesign, parents would receive a fixed amount of money determined by their income and their child's age. Unpopular, to say the least.
And it's the Toy Story 4.
It meant that 7-year-old Nicholas Walsh would have gotten about $5,000 a year.
It's awful. We have him in therapy. We're paying right now almost anywhere between $1,100 to $1,300 a month. So $5,000 is not really going to last us very long. And then again, it comes back to us paying it out of pocket. But not all families are like that.
My son is not in a place where he's able to care for himself. It puts pressure on me and my husband.
Paying out of pocket is not an option for Josie Chavez and her son.
We all want my son Adam to be independent and being able to have a job for himself, to be able to be successful, and however that looks like for him.
Right now, her son Adam gets $70,000 a year for therapy, as mandated under the previous Liberal framework. And that's going to get extended by 6 months to tide parents like her over until the Conservatives come up with their new needs-based funding plan announced today.
We are now finally pointed back in the right direction.
The minister took some ownership today.
The president of the Ontario Autism Coalition was at the presser to reiterate again that autism is not a one-size-fits-all issue. She says with many families paying for therapy out of pocket or languishing on wait lists, the new program can't kick in soon enough.
I'd like it to be in place yesterday, and I think most families feel that way too.
For me, the fight still continues. It continues until there's actual needs-based therapy, because right now, all there is just a lot of talk. So enough talk, enough of these government shenanigans, let's move forward.
So this is the Ontario Conservative government going back to the drawing board. They plan to roll out a new autism funding program by April 2020. Safe to say these parents will be holding them to it. Ali Chiasson, CBC News, Toronto.
Colette is here with a first look at the forecast. All this humid weather, eventually it was going to lead to some rain.
Yeah, it does lead to some rain, especially when you have this humid air mass, as you mentioned, we all know, and then you have a drier air mass that wants to move in, and there's a battleground between the two. So we are going to see improving conditions in terms of this humidity, but in between we get all this unsettled weather, so some of this thunderstorm activity we've been seeing showing up. So that's what happens in the short term. So it carries on through the overnight and that risk even into tomorrow, although not at all times in all places, because they will be somewhat scattered, becoming more isolated into the afternoon. Then we get into a pattern change. It says warm. What I mean, though, is we've been hot. So then we go to warm. Temperatures still looking pretty good, but closer to seasonal for this time of year. And by midweek, we're less humid as well. So the cold front, as it's coming through, we're still into a southerly flow out ahead of it. We get into some of this active weather with this cold front kind of carving in that cooler air, pushing in at the surface, and we have very buoyant air in place. So still some scattered storms, although see how they're becoming more isolated into tomorrow afternoon. And then eventually things look pretty good by Tuesday evening. But I have to tell you, a little bit of instability still left behind. So Wednesday afternoon, a few isolated showers could pop up. Should be pretty light, and I've mostly kept them out of our forecast, frankly. A look at overnight low, 20 degrees. Tomorrow afternoon, 27. A departure from today. Feeling, though, still like 36. We'll see how it looks for the rest of the week, and that somewhat cooler air moving in, Mike, and also as we approach the long weekend.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
The newest big-name retailer to set up shop in Toronto is already causing controversy. Juul, the e-cigarette company, chose the trendy Queen West area for its first ever North American standalone store. It says it's to educate customers about quitting smoking, but others worry it's just about building the brand's appeal among younger customers. Taylor Simmons explains.
Vape stores are all over the city, and now vaping giant Juul has joined the mix, claiming the store will let it take a more direct role in educating potential customers about vaping.
I know what goes into it is a lot less than what goes into cigarettes.
I Juul like all the time, and it's getting like out of hand. I feel like I couldn't stop.
The store is located on Queen West, just off of Spadina. Inside, there's a spot where customers are ID'd to ensure they're 19 or over. In a statement today, the company said their goal is to give adults a less harmful smoking alternative while limiting appeal to young people. But some, like tobacco researcher Robert Schwartz, say young people are already enticed thanks to splashy ads, fruity-flavored chemicals, and sleek, discreet gadgets. This retail shop, he says, just another ad in a popular area.
Juul and some of the other vaping companies have been marketing their products in a way that is so aggressive.
Recent studies have shown the number of Canadians aged 16 to 19 who vape has doubled, now more than 15%, with long-term effects of the products still unknown.
Juul can have very high concentrations of nicotine. That nicotine is one of the most highly addictive substances that we know. It's as addictive as heroin.
But according to those in the industry, vaping products are a game changer for smokers. Even Health Canada recognizes them as a less harmful alternative to cigarettes.
Vaping for me personally has changed my life.
However, this vape advocate admits the industry could use more regulation.
Currently in the province of Ontario, technically, anyone that sells a vapor product only needs to be tested once a year.
With so many unknowns, Schwartz has a rule of thumb.
If you're a smoker and you can't quit in other ways, then certainly try vaping. If you're not a smoker, don't even think about vaping because it's not benign. It can hurt you.
Taylor Simmons, CBC News, Toronto.
A Toronto family is upset after they spent thousands of dollars to upgrade the landscaping at their home. They even got a beautiful front yard garden award from the city. Then came another letter from the city telling them to rip it up because of a bylaw violation. As Kelda Yoon tells us, they want that bylaw to change.
Sangeeta Gounder had artificial grass installed on her entire front lawn 3 years ago.
Because it was getting very difficult to keep a green, weed-free lawn. I absolutely adore it. The kids play on it, the dog plays on it.
Last year, she even received a beautiful front yard garden award from the city. But this May, she received something else, this violation notice, after someone complained about her artificial turf. The city only investigates when a call is made to 311. Gounder was shocked.
I've never actually encountered anybody who didn't like it.
According to a city zoning bylaw, a minimum of 75% of the front yard must be soft landscaping. Synthetic grass, that's considered hard landscaping. Gounder says there's 2 feet of drainage under her turf, but city official Mark Straga says that may not be good enough.
Artificial turf is not considered to be free draining.
The city doesn't receive that many complaints about artificial turfs like this. So far this year, they received 5. In 2018, they received 5 in total. And the year before, in 2017, they received just 2 complaints. And the city also doesn't always follow up. Karen Stintz is a former city councillor who used to have an artificial turf.
And it should be widely used and accepted.
This is her on her front lawn in 2015, shortly before she received a city order to remove her fake grass. Stintz never did, and the city never contacted her again. But when she sold her house, the purchasers noticed the bylaw infraction.
So I had to pay the new owners the equivalent of removing the turf and replacing it with sod, which they took the money, but never did.
Stintz tried to have the bylaw change when she was a city councillor, but was unsuccessful.
And so I do know that it continues to be widely utilized, even across local BIAs across the city that put artificial grass in the city boulevard. So it's unclear why the city is choosing to go after homeowners.
As for Gounder, she initially planned on having her case heard at a fee of about $1,800. But with her entire front yard being artificial turf, she has a high likelihood of losing her case.
If it's at 28%, 30%, we'll use our own discretion on how we want to proceed.
So later this summer, Gounder will be busy tearing out her turf.
Although it breaks my heart to do it.
Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
The time I was getting stabbed, I thought I was being punched. So I didn't realize until about 30 seconds later when I backed up and my chest was soaking wet with blood. So I'd realized at that point, and he was still standing about 10 feet away with just a big smile on his face.
Coming up, we'll speak to the man who was stabbed by a stranger at the Beaches Jazz Festival last week. Where we'll hear how and why the attack happened and how he's recovering. A man who was stabbed during the first night of the Beaches Jazz Festival is speaking out tonight. 27-year-old Dylan Can got out of hospital over the weekend and tells us he feels lucky to be alive. Talia Ricci now with more on the random attack.
That was the one close to the heart.
Just missing it by 2 millimeters. Dylan Can says at one point he didn't think he was going to make it after a young man at the beach's jazz festival randomly attacked him.
At one point when I was in the ambulance, I thought I was going to die. I've never felt pain like that before, and they couldn't stop the bleeding, so I was quite worried, and I was also worried for my puppy.
Can says the suspect was asking him about his 8-week-old foster puppy when he suddenly became agitated.
I said, "Leave me alone," and I turned to walk away, and he just started stabbing me in my stomach. I guess he had already had the knife out. The whole time I was getting stabbed, I thought I was being punched. So I didn't realize until about 30 seconds later when I backed up to go, because I had to drop the puppy, to go grab the puppy. And my chest was soaking wet with blood. And he was still standing about 10 feet away with just a big smile on his face.
This is the intersection where it happened. Police say they did speak to several witnesses in the area, but they are still searching for the suspect. And in the meantime, the community has come together to try to help Dylan while he's off work.
For as long as he has to recover for, that's out of his own pocket.
Can has his own business and will be off work for weeks. A GoFundMe page was started by beach residents. One boy was even selling lemonade for him over the weekend. Many in the area are familiar with Can because he's a social guy, known to offer free relationship advice on the boardwalk and offer a helping hand to his neighbors.
He did provide help to a lot of people, women who need curtains hung here and there, or just little knick-knack type things that some people didn't have the ability to do.
Can says he's touched by everyone who's reaching out and relieved the internal bleeding has stopped. But still, he can't quite sleep easy.
Definitely going to be looking over my shoulder until this guy's caught.
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, Jays fans getting their first look at the team's next young star tonight in Kansas City. We'll introduce you to 21-year-old shortstop Bo Bichette coming up next.
Well, the first thing you see from
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
The Blue Jays' #1 prospect, Bo Bichette, making his Major League debut tonight as Toronto played Kansas City. He makes his first at-bat in the second, hitting this base hit. His family was there to cheer him on. Now, Randall Grichuk giving fans reason to cheer in the 6th with a 2-run home run. KC would tie the game, but the Jays pull ahead in the 8th, courtesy of a solo home run by Kevin Biggio. He would get another RBI in the 9th. The Jays pick up even more runs as they hold on to win this one 7-3. And Canada winning another gold medal at this year's Pan Am Games in Lima, Peru. Ellie Black defended her title in the women's individual all-around final in gymnastics. Canada has 32 medals so far these games, including 4 gold. The PGA held a big tournament in Milton today. No, not that PGA, but rather the Punjabi Golfers Association. The tournament hopes to encourage more diversity in golf while also giving back to those in need. Our camera caught up with some of the players today.
Everyone enjoys this game. This is a summer game. Everyone loves to be outside. So this is more for networking, right?
I think it's going to be a lot of fun. This event's a great event. Every year they have it in the summer, and it's a lot of fun. So we're going to just try and go out there, have some fun, and shoot a good score. It's great to be involved in the Indian community, and it's nice to give back.
It's fun to see the community get together and play golf.
My game's going pretty well. Yeah. I hit a couple greens, but I missed a lot of shots too.
Playing very well, just the pressure of the tournament, trying to win, trying to get to your head.
Trying to win against adults.
Normally golf isn't as good as basketball, but like the Punjabi Cup is.
Well, the Royal Punjabi Cup is the largest Punjabi tournament in Ontario. The tournament hopes to popularize golf within the Punjabi community and help attract new players to the game, especially women and younger people. Proceeds from the tournament are donated to a local charity, the Seva Food Bank. Colette is back with her extended forecast. We got some unsettled weather tomorrow, and then hopefully, I don't want to say cooler, let's just say less humid summer weather to coming.
Yeah, less humid, and Mike, you're right. I mean, it's cooler than what it's been, but actually just kind of knocking those temperatures sort of back to seasonal where they ought to be. We're getting used to our temperatures being around 30 degrees or close to it and feeling like upper 30s, but just remember this time of year an average high is about 27. So we're headed back in that direction, and as Mike mentioned, getting that humidity down a little bit too. But in the meantime, still some of these showers and thunderstorms, at times some heavier downpours, of course, coming through even into tomorrow morning, and then into the afternoon they become a little more isolated in terms of what we'll be seeing. So we do get some improvement through the day, and some areas will be drying out and even be seeing some breaks into some sunshine. Now Wednesday, it looks like there's just a little bit of instability left behind, so the air mass is going to be more comfortable. The temperature's cooler, but a few spotty showers, pretty widely scattered in terms of what we're going to see. I'm keeping it largely out of the forecast because so many areas around the GTA will actually stay dry, but that risk is there, and I want you to know about that. Southwestern Ontario, here you go. Your overnight lows 20 to 21, again with some of these embedded thunderstorms throughout the area. Highs tomorrow a little cooler, upper 20s still some humidity, but just not like it's been. And then we'll get into a better trend towards midweek in terms of really drying out. For the GTA overnight tonight, these temperatures, these overnight lows are going to drop by about 5 degrees by the time we get to Tuesday night. But one more night tonight where they're pretty high in terms of where seasonal for this time of year for the lows are closer to the 15 mark there too. So even our overnight lows are on the warm side. Tomorrow, you see what I mean, more comfortable than today. Still some of that humidity around though, so feeling like we're in the mid 30s, and it's hard to pinpoint where. So you notice I haven't put showers in Markham. Doesn't mean you won't see them. The point I'm more trying to get across is that by afternoon they're very isolated, so hard to pinpoint exactly where. The risk is there, but more so with the heavier downpours earlier in the day tomorrow. Then we get into Wednesday. Slight chance for some showers. I'm putting in partly cloudy skies. 27 goes to 25 for the high on Wednesday, and only feeling a degree or two warmer than that. So in terms of the humidity, it's really changing. Thursday, look at this forecast. We are headed towards a long weekend. Thursday, sunny. Sunny on Friday, 27. Okay, heat's starting to come back towards the weekend, Mike. Humidity starting to build back as well. But for now, things are looking pretty good sailing into that weekend.
Okay, thanks, Colette.
No problem.
Welcome back. Nathan Phillips Square is being transformed into an Indigenous cultural space to honor residential school survivors and their families. Once again, tomorrow you'll be able to see performances and teachings for hoop dancing, drumming, and throat singing. You can also check out Indigenous food and arts and crafts for sale. There's also this turtle sculpture. It's called the Restoration of Identity, and it's actually a replica of what will soon be a permanent installation in the square. You can read more about the significance of that sculpture on our website. You can find that at cbcnews.ca/Toronto. And tomorrow on Q, David Crosby drops by to speak with guest host Laurie Brown, all about a new documentary looking at his musical legacy with the Byrds and Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young. You can hear that tomorrow at 10 a.m. on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here tomorrow night at 11. Good night.